Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Challengers Chatroom, your one-stop shop for all things SGC. My name is Sam Smax Hyde, and I'm joined by Matthew Cubby Samuelson, and we have a bunch of guests that are going to be on the stream tonight, but we are starting with none other than Radiance's jungler, Avi. I'll kick it off with you, Avi. How are you doing today?
Doing pretty good. Just started prepping for our match later tonight.
Very nice.
Yeah.
You said against Maryville, right?
Yes, we're against Maryville like 3 times this week, so this is our first go at it.
Yeah, I believe that's a losers bracket for UPL too, so it's an elimination game. Should be a really big one too. Avi, though, welcome to. I guess we're doing like for the viewers. This is going to be a cup playoff preview. Unfortunately, Radiance didn't make it through towards the cup playoffs. You guys were in a really tough group in Group B. That said, you guys have actually been playing very well as of late. For me, like on the outside looking in, I've definitely recognized the fact that you guys are playing around Engo a lot better, and you're paying some more visits up to the top lane. What do you think's really changed for you guys in kind of like your recent play and performance? Getting better, and you guys finding more wins.
For us, I think it's just we started playing the game. I swear, like before we were just kind of running it down, and now we're starting to actually play League of Legends. Like if you pick for your strong side top, then you should play to top.
Yeah.
So we're kind of doing that now. I think also our laners, I guess just everyone in general is stepping up, and like learning how to play with jungle. I think that
Yeah.
was something we were struggling with, like learning how to play against enemy jungler, and like also learning how to play with me was something that we were struggling with a lot. So I think if you watch our VODs from before, like we just die to ganks a lot, and now we don't die to ganks as much, and it's a two-way street. It's not like my laners were inting only. It's like if they need hovers or like things like that, then they start calling for it more. And yeah, I think we're just working better as a team now.
Yeah. Do you think like a lot of that improvement came from like you stepping up and saying like, hey guys, like this is like what we need to do, or did like your laners kind of step up, or was like a combination of both in terms of like how the communication now works between you guys?
It's like I said, it's the two-way street, right? So
Yeah.
I think both parties have to step up. I mean, obviously one can like carry, but I think both of us, like both parties, did step up in this case. And it was with all of my laners. Honestly, I feel like one at a time, like all my laners had like struggles playing with jungle, and then like we dealt with it one at a time. And like the last one was bot lane. I feel like we were really running it down bot lane randomly, and then we had a talk, and my support was like, Avi, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like you never come bots, and the enemy jungler is always bottom. So yeah, we resolved that, and then and then
Is it still true?
I don't know. You have to ask Johnson, or you have to ask Cal. I think we're doing better now. At least they're playing a lot better weak side. I know Andy likes playing weak side because it gives him 2v3 angles. So like whenever I say like Andy, I'm gonna pass up, he's like excited. He's like, yeah, it's powerful because I can 2v3. So yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's pretty funny. So I was actually curious about your support position because you had a Rhino, Pocket Rhino, sub in for at least one series that I got to see. Is he like a more permanent person on your squad, or was he just filling in for the week? Because I really liked his Bard.
Not sure what's going on with Pocket Rhino, honestly. I think that right now we have him because our supports can't qualify anymore for SG because of the new ruling.
Yeah.
So he basically told us that like he'd prefer to only play in the really important matches. So that's why we brought Pocket in originally. Because the Risen and Focus matches were like not really as important for like points. So yeah, that was basically why we brought in Pocket Rhino. I don't know if we're gonna be playing with him this week, or I mean, he was on vacation last week, so we didn't play with him. But I don't know what's gonna go on with him anymore.
Does he also complain that you're never bought?
No, he's really quiet actually. He doesn't really talk that much.
He speaks through his tempered fates. As
As
Bard
doesn't
player
talk that much either. He just makes weird sounds. So
Yeah. So something else, like you notice, like all your players stepping up. I've noticed it with like how you've played around top lane specifically. Because bot side, it always kind of seemed like when you guys had success, it was Andy Bendy going off, but it's been great to see you guys playing around Engo. But the other thing I've really noticed is that Young Mid has been on an absolute tear lately, and I'm just kind of curious, like, do you think that he's the one stepping up really individually, or do you really think that it's like you guys working better as a tandem that has made him look so good in some of these matches?
Um, I don't know. Honestly, I can't tell about the individual performances.
Yeah.
Young definitely wins lane every game, so that's pretty cool as a jungler.
That helps out a little bit.
But we do
it's handy.
counter pick mid quite often, so
Mhm.
yeah, like I think that he gets leads that are probably more than he should, like compared to average. So I think that's really good. In general, I think like mid lane is probably the one of the tougher roles for like getting solo leads and transitioning it into your like teammates.
Mhm.
I think one thing that Young started getting like a lot better at is using his lead and prio for like jungle tempo or for like other lanes, and
Mhm.
like it's kind of like the Niski playstyle, like he just
Yeah.
runs to side lane and wins the game randomly at like 10 minutes.
Mhm.
So I think that we're just trying to learn how to make his lead more impactful in our games. And then, yeah, in terms of his individual performance, I feel like jungle mid. I feel like if jungle plays well, then mid looks good, and if mid plays well, jungle looks good. So like both of those roles like um make each other look better, right? So if
Yeah.
mid jungle are performing well together, then they both will look really good. So I think like in our games, me and Young have just been looking a lot better because we're playing better together. So yeah, I think that's one of the big reasons why.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Jungle and support are definitely those positions where, like, if the team works really well together, then those two players look really, really good. So I'm glad you guys are fixing that up for your sake as well, because yeah, it does make you look a lot better when the whole team is winning, right? You can't just say jungle diff because your bot lane is complaining that you're not there. So
Yeah, facts.
I am really really pleased with how you guys are playing. I was very apprehensive seeing the trajectory of Radiance going in, and we even have proof of it. 2 weeks ago, Cubby and I talked about his tier list that he made, and I said that one of the few disagreements I had with his list was that you guys were overrated on the list, and he didn't even have you that high. But I don't mean to sound like I'm bashing you,
Just
but
going hard here, Smax.
it was because I could see that the only real way you guys were playing was just to go bot lane 24/7 and try to get that to work, and that's not really something that is as multi-dimensional as you need to have when you're going into best of 3, best of 5 like playoff series. And then uh like a week and a half ago, I watched your series against Long Beach, and you guys locked in Ash for Andy. I was like, what is this?
Weak
This
side.
does not compute. This does not compute. Andy cannot carry on that champion. And then Engo locks in Jace. I'm like, oh, it's happening. It's actually happening. And then you guys won the series. I was like, okay, I'm excited. And then you guys do it again and again and again. I'm like, yes, this is happening. I'm actually like, I'm really happy because I wasn't like, I don't know, I wasn't like trying to bash you guys when I was initially saying that Cubby had you overrated. I was just excited to see if you guys could make that adaptation, and I'm really, really proud. So I don't know. That's a little bit of a tangent about how I feel about your team. I'm really pleased with it. I'm definitely, definitely like a little disappointed that we don't get to see you over here on the Cup stream. But I'm excited to see how you guys play in the other leagues and everything. I don't know. How do you feel about it coming? Because you had them higher than I did. Is this something that you saw coming?
No, like I said, you guys have been playing better, but kind of getting back to Avi because I know that like we are on limited time here.
Yeah.
Avi, notably for you, you actually have come from collegiate and UCI. You actually recently graduated, so congrats to you. I know that like we talked a little bit yesterday about how like you might be hoping to focus on league, but like what are your real aspirations kind of moving forward as you develop as a player?
For me, now that I'm like done with school, as you said, I'm
Hmm.
just fully I'm like all in on League now.
Yeah.
This is like the first time where I can actually just like put all my eggs in one basket, basically. And I've been around for a while, so I have a lot of team experience, and yeah, I think that it's shouldn't be that hard to get into academy from here as long as I keep working hard and like improve. I think the most important thing is like keeping a strong mental in amateur because um, losing feels really really bad, especially when you lose to teams that you think are worse than you.
Yeah.
And we've lost to a lot of teams that I would say are worse than us or like should be worse than us, which was really really tilting. But I think with every loss that we had, we came back stronger and like grew. And I think me individually, I started to like learn. I'm learning how to play jungle like for myself again. I think that's like the meta right now is you play for your jungler's tempo. Your jungler needs to get a lead and then transition it into winning the game. And it hasn't been like that for a really long time. So it's been pretty fun, like
Yeah.
relearning that like S6 grades meta.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I'm enjoying it because I don't have to stress about school or like anything like that, and I can just focus on one thing.
Yep.
So yeah.
No, that's great to hear. Obviously, we only have a few more minutes left with you, so before you leave, we do want to get your thoughts on the Cup playoffs. I know that you guys unfortunately aren't involved, but I kind of think you have a unique perspective from the outside looking in. So, like taking a look at the bracket, are there any dark horses that stick out to you? Are there any teams you think can challenge 100 Thieves next? No, it's like been something big in SGC. What are your thoughts going into this one?
I think 100 Thieves are definitely the best team. We haven't seen a new versus them yet, so I'm a bit excited for that.
See that tonight, by the way.
True.
Yeah, so we'll see that tonight, which I'm pretty excited for. I'll probably be watching it on my second monitor while we play Maryville. Um, I think 100 Thieves will probably win. Like, and Anu will probably be second place.
Okay.
That's my prediction, like 3-1 or something. I don't
Okay.
think any other team will be able to do that much versus 100 Thieves unless they cheese or something.
Yeah.
So maybe Polar Ace will cheese or Mirage. Mirage played like Zed last time, so maybe they'll be able to take a game off them with some weird cheese. But other than that, I don't see a team coming that close. Maybe Anu will do well. I don't really know. Like I haven't seen them play that much, so
Yeah.
I guess we'll see tonight.
Any other dark horses that like you see like in the bracket, like any teams you think like the community has is severely underrated that you think are good, or anything like that? Anything to look out for?
Not really. Maybe Frostfire might like upset Anu
Ooh.
or LBGN. LBGN actually beat Anu before, so
Yes.
maybe that like I could see that happening, but I don't think anything on the other side of the bracket will happen. I think that like the most upset might happen in like Anu versus Dark Matter or Anu versus Frostfire LBGN.
Okay. Avi, thanks so much for coming on. But before we let you off, do you have like any shout outs or any thank yous that you want to give? Anything like that?
Shout out to Andy Bendy because he's a Chad. And shout out to just all my teammates, honestly, and Radiance as a whole. I think Radiance is just a really sick organization. I have like literally zero complaints. They're probably one of the best orgs I've ever been on. And shout out to my fans. I know you're out there. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for coming on, Avi. Really appreciate it. And if you guys want to catch Radiance tonight, I believe that either Radiance or Maryville is going to be streaming the game on their Twitch channel for UPL. So big match. The winner moves on to top 3 and faces the loser of 100 Thieves next versus Anu as well. So best of luck tonight, Avi. And hope to see you guys keep on winning and talk to you later.
Thank you. Have a good
All right.
All right.
Well,
next up, producer Lauren, could you please drag in our next guests?
all right. I think they are here. We've got Shoryu and Winter, both members of the bot lane from a new esports. This is our first 4-person podcast segment. How are
Thank
you two
producer
doing
Lauren.
there?
I put producer Lauren through the ringer with this one, so I appreciate him pulling through. But guys, how you guys doing today?
Doing
Good,
good.
good.
Just yeah, getting ready and preparing for a match.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fantastic. Obviously, you guys do have a really big match tonight. We'll go over that in a little bit, but before we do, you guys have really picked up your play of late. You guys were kind of sitting as an upper tier team in SGC, but now you really have yourselves positioned as the team to really challenge 100 Thieves next. And first off, speaking of Cup and the playoffs, you guys actually recently beat Polaris in the tiebreaker on Sunday in a 2-0. A lot of us didn't see that match, so how'd that match go for you guys?
I guess I'll let Winter.
Yeah, you can go.
Look at this bot lane
Polaris.
synergy shining through already.
Yeah, Polaris. Yeah, I mean, they didn't really fight back. I think they just rolled over and died, and yeah, we won. I think the second game was a little hard because we were getting caught a lot. I think it was the Varus game I played. I think I played 2 Varus games actually, but I think the second game we had a long game, but we ended nonetheless, and it wasn't too hard. I think we all played pretty bad the second game.
Okay, but a 2-0 nonetheless, and an important win too, because that positions you guys on the opposite side of the bracket from 100 Thieves next. And you guys actually have a huge game against them tonight over at UPL.
Yep.
How are you guys feeling going into that one?
I think we feeling fine. I think we have been on a huge win streak, and the last time we lost was versus them actually. We have like 5 wins in a row, I think. So we are on upswing, and I think we're playing pretty great nowadays. So should
Yeah,
be
Yeah.
fine.
I'm confident. I think everyone stepped up on our team, and everyone's playing individually really well. And on top of that, I think morale is very important. And as much as you, as an athlete, you kind of have to shift away from like a results-based view, but
Yes.
it is quite hard, when the losses start piling on. So wins are very pivotal, I think, for having some confidence. And I think we've been on a hot streak, so I think we're all pretty confident that we can win tonight.
I've definitely been very impressed with you guys locking in that first seed. I know there was definitely some turbulence as far as the cup that side of that group, excuse me, went, because we were seeing like a lot of inconsistency. I believe the other side had like a lot more 2-0s and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad to see you guys lock in that first seed, beating Polar Ace as well. Cubby mentioned it. You guys are playing against 100 Thieves next tonight, but you're also playing against them on Friday too, in the big league finals. So that's gonna be really exciting. How do you feel about that team in particular, and also just like I think Cubby and I both agree. I think you two are the top 2 teams now by quite a bit. So how close do you think that is between you guys, really?
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. We don't have too much to judge. I don't think we play them too much. I think we play them like 1 series and then maybe a couple scrims. But in the scrims, I don't recall the games being too difficult. And then in our game, I think we were all playing pretty bad, and we didn't have a lot of team discussions that I think actually helped us. So
Mhm.
I think yeah, I'm confident to play against them. I also know they're pretty good. Like they probably scrim their academy team and stuff. So we also have to be quite serious and try our asses off, because they are, I guess, the best team in terms of numbers. So just gotta disprove that, right?
Yeah. Speaking of academy, obviously, I think everyone on your roster actually has academy experience. And so I guess Winter, I'll start with you on this one. But how do you guys feel the competition is this year in SGC compared to the competition like you guys have had in academy in the past and playing in those scrims?
When I played in academy, the situation wasn't the best, so I don't very recall the scrim or anything.
Mhm.
So I couldn't say if the difference was like huge. But if I remember, it was better in academy for sure, since you play like 2 scrim set a day, compared to now where you play like 1 scrim set a week and you play like 5 matches during the whole fucking week.
Yeah.
You guys have a lot of matches to play. It's I know it's like you guys didn't even have Focus and Risen too. I like talking to some of the teams, like they've actually started to play better once they got like knocked out of leagues. They actually had time to practice. Do you think like that's been good. The fact that you didn't participate in all 6 leagues and like had some more time to actually fit in
Wait, there are
scrims.
more
Or
leagues?
yeah, there are 6
Fuck,
leagues.
dude, this is already so. Oh my god.
Yeah.
No. Why would I ever do that with my life? No. Yeah, I'm really happy we didn't play in all 6 leagues. This is already terrible. Like, we're literally not scrimming. You're playing games every day. Like, how is this a good format for like improvement? You know, like how
Yes.
there's no way this is a good format. So, yeah, I think you're just killing yourself if you're playing all 6 leagues. That sounds miserable. No, that sounds terrible. Why would I?
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah.
This is about the time when we bring up the infamous number. You guys play 580. Is that the minimum or the maximum? I never remember.
Between the 23 teams that we have in SGC, there was a minimum of at least 580 regular season games played.
So
Not even
many.
including playoffs with those 6 leagues. It's just absurd.
Mhm.
So probably good that you guys didn't participate in 2 of them. So you guys had more time to like actually fit in 1 scrim block a week.
Yeah.
But yeah, something else that's like very specific to your guys' roster that I kind of wanted to bring up is the fact that obviously later into the season, SGC had a ruling that affects previous academy players, and with you guys having so much experience on your roster, it really disproportionately affected your team. I know Winter, you even referenced the Winter rule, where there was one rule that only affected you. Like that said, like a lot of people kind of expected you guys to, maybe not be as motivated or fall off. But since then, as Shoryu mentioned, you guys have been on a hot streak and have been winning a ton of games. Is that something that like kind of motivated you guys to prove that like you should be considered to like go to SGC, or do you think it's just other stuff that like you guys have just been turning around
I think
as a team?
people overthink things so much. Like they think like, oh, like you're gonna be unmotivated or whatever. Like I don't even think we had like a team talk about this stuff. Like we all want to win, and I mean, if well, why does it matter if you get 1 extra trip to LA for a week? Like your goal's to like at least my goal, right, as a player is to be like the baddest motherfucker I can, and that means winning. Like it doesn't matter like if I get to fly to LA for free or not. Like that's the end goal, right? And if you're gonna kill your performance and kill like your pride and that thousands of hours you work for because like you can't go to LA, then I think that's like a very weak mentality to have. I think you really need to take every game very seriously, regardless of who you play. So
I think most of our teammates were not really interested in going Skyline Grounds anyway.
yeah, like honestly, me like I guess I can go, but I'm very if the opportunity proposes that I don't have to, I definitely will not. So
Yeah.
Me, I already knew I was gonna get ruled.
Yeah,
So,
you had to get a
gotta
winter rule coming in.
Everyone's got it. It's too strong.
Was it really just you affected by that specific one?
Yeah.
I don't remember. Someone made a table that I don't remember.
Yeah, it was Elk. He had a table.
Oh yeah.
And
Shout out
it
Elk
was,
Battery.
yeah.
Maybe Julian.
Oh, it might have affected Julian actually.
Possibly the 2 of you, but yeah, I know it's been yeah, it was a bummer to see that one come in so late because like it was like after rosters were formed, and so yeah. That said, something else, one of the players that a lot of people look towards on your team is actually your mid laner 5Fire, and I think one of the reasons that he's so interesting is the fact that like he is very flexible with his champion pool. And that's something like you guys play around a lot. Like he's pulling out champions like Zillion. You guys are early picking TF a lot more than some of the other teams. Do you feel like you guys are able to do this just because like you guys play around it as a team well enough, or like that's your preference, or because 5Fire is just like an individual beast and can pull this off?
No, yeah, I think I'm just gonna refer to him as Aiden.
Yeah.
I think he's really good at playing a lot of champs. I think some of that solo queue. Everyone has their own edge, and he was a solo queue grinder. Like he played a lot of solo queue, so I think he has a lot of tools and like a lot of champs he's practiced more than like the average guy, right? Like compared to me or compared to whatever. Like I played the same champs consistently because they're meta because I played pro, but Aiden really hasn't had that experience too long, so he still is very fresh and has a lot of champs he can play, and he plays them well. So I think I think giving us credit on that is very unfair. I think he does a very good job of that. So of having a lot of tools on game day ready to pull out at any time.
Yeah, it's a huge help to you guys, like having that flexibility as well. Obviously Karma's like one of those elite picks that we've seen, and it seems like you guys and Mike Young play that really well. And Winter, I don't know how much you've picked that one up in the bot lane. Obviously, you're like the one of the few supports that I've seen that seems to love Braum duty. I don't know if like that's just like the 2 of you, or the fact that like you're so good at it. But
Oh, I just pick that
you just
champ
get
and I
slayed
win
with-
every game.
You just get slayed with the Braum every draft. Me or Mike always, yo, yeah, Braum looks pretty good, bro. I think you should pick Braum. And you hear like the intel, you hear him just in the most depressed voice. Yes.
I mean, I just win every time with that champ. It looks like so. I just
Yeah.
All right, this question's a little bit of a selfish one for me, Winter, but one of my favorite champions to play in solo queue is Maokai support. And I know since you play a lot of tanks that there's maybe a chance that you've played this. Tell me if you think that Maokai support's any good, because I think it's pretty good.
I think with Sana is good, but I played against it and someone picked Braum. Game is over.
Yeah, I mean, but nobody's gonna play Braum in solo queue, you
Or
know?
even Trundle. Why don't people play Trundle support if people
Yeah.
play Sonamaka? I don't understand.
Trundle
Probably
could be
good,
pretty good. That could be pretty good. But I like it because you get the little saplings, you throw them in the bush, and then you don't even have to recall for wards. So that's pretty
Yeah,
nice.
that's
You
true.
play-
wow,
Yeah.
you are the most selfish support player
You
I've
go
ever
look at
mentioned.
Andrew or something? Like,
If only it gave me vision score. I don't think it does, but if it gave me vision score, I have like 300.
I played against the Maokai one time. I forget if it was a real game or not, but he built like Leandries, and it was the most miserable experience of my life. Actually, dude, those E's one shot you. Actually, it makes no sense.
I
Actually,
don't think I've ever tried that. I usually just go like
Yeah, you should try
Zeke's and then like tank stuff. But
no, that definitely can't be balanced. You should try it.
all right, I'll have to give that a shot. Just
Giving
annoy
giving
my
Smack solo
laners.
queue advice, as we love to do.
I need it for sure. I haven't been on the grind in a while.
All right, guys, we've only got you for a few more minutes. Obviously, you guys have a huge match tonight, and we want to make sure you guys have the right prep time for that. But going into the Cup playoffs, you guys are the number 1 seed out of Group A. Are there any teams that like you are really chomping at the bit to knock out of Cup, or any teams you think can really challenge you either on your side of the bracket or the other side? You guys have any dark horses? Winter, like picking your brain first. Is there any team that like you think people underrate, or any team that like you're just looking forward to smash?
Not on our side. Let's see. I mean, probably 100 C's, right? But I don't know about any. Like, I'm looking at the teams and I can't even recall who is on Polaris except like Flares and Julian. So
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Strong words coming on through from Winter. Shoryu, any teams that like you think people underrate, or any teams like you really want to knock out?
Yeah, honestly, like I'm not on like the same level of like grudge match. Like I don't have any grudges against any of these guys, but
Yeah.
I just want to play the team that seems the best. You know, and it seems like 100 Thieves right now. So yeah, I hope I play against them in the finals of all these leagues or whatever. And yeah, I hope we take them down.
Yeah. Well, hey, you guys
I guess
already
if we're
have them in
on,
the
we're-
finals of
we're really
Big.
on.
True.
Yeah. You guys already have them in the finals of Big, and then the upper bracket semifinals tonight. And UPL with his Upsurge esports for you guys to tune in 8 p.m. Eastern. Definitely tune in. That's going to be a banger of a match. And they've got Mad Magical and Invert casting as well. Guys, before we let you go, any shout outs that you guys want to give, any thank yous, anything like that, before we let you prep for your match?
Mine's a little longer, so you go first one.
I don't have anyone to thank except my team and the Brahms duty supporter. That's what's up.
Yeah.
All right.
For me, like I'm a little older of a player. Not really. I'm 20, so fuck anyone that thinks age matters. But yeah, I've had my way through the system a bit, and anyone that's watched my games back then, and even like still puts effort to watch them now. Thanks. Like I really appreciate it, because anyone that hasn't lost hope yet, because I still think I can be one of the best players. And yeah, thanks to my team. My team's actually really experienced this year. Going down to amateur, I wanted to make sure I played with people I liked, because it's my choice to play here, right? If I'm on a team in academy, I don't. It's not really my choice to play with those players, but yeah, I'm really happy with everyone's level of play and with everyone's effort on being a good teammate. So yeah, shout out to my whole team. They're beasts, and they make carrying me look really easy. So
Especially in ARAMs, right?
especially Aaron.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for hopping in on Challengers Chat Room. It's been a pleasure. Look forward to seeing you guys play tonight and on Thursday and on Friday. We got a bunch of new matches to look forward to. So yeah, thank you guys again so much. We are going to get our next
Thank you guys.
guy
Best
in
luck tonight.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Was fun.
Yeah,
sure
thank
thing.
All right.
Welcome. Yeah.
So let's go ahead and grab Wolverine in here. He has arrived. Wolverine,
Hello,
welcome
hello.
back to Challengers Chatroom. You are our first returning guest.
Back to back.
Well, we had a few in between, but yes, you you got the right spirit. How are you doing today, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm great. I've had a bunch of tea, and I think this tea is caffeinated, so I am a little bit higher energy than I was
Wow.
expecting to be. But
We got more Smax rants coming on in. Huh?
you might. I
Yeah.
might need to stop drinking it. But anyway, yeah, we got you back in here again. Like I said, our first returning guest. Back at it again. We need some more hot takes. We haven't had our fix in a bit. So.
All right, I'll get you started, Wolverine. So last time you were here, while I heavily disagree with the sentiment back then, you did call ImAviLoL a B tier team earlier in the season, and I still somewhat agree. Back then, I very strongly disagreed, but lately they've actually been falling off quite a bit. They've been knocked out early in a lot of leagues compared to like what we expect out of the top collegiate team in North America. Just getting your take, what's going on with them? Like, why do you think they've been falling off lately?
Maryville, like a lot of teams that are now starting to fall off, are a team who relied on just having better coordination than other teams. They were never actually good. They were just together longer. So they could make up for the fact that they were worse by the fact that they just had a lot better team play since they
Okay.
were a lot more experienced. And now that teams are becoming more experienced as well, that's starting to fade.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we definitely seen it like with the results. They've been knocked out early in quite a few leagues, and
Yeah.
we don't expect that out of them. Also, Wolverine, since the last time that we've seen you here, you've put out some calls on Twitter for some amateur coaching sessions that you're doing. Do you have any players that were like teams like you've been working with, or like anyone that like reached out with you, or like kind of like what are you doing there?
I'm going to be coaching a couple individual players from some teams. TX is one. TX, fan favorite, of course.
Yeah.
Meech, CP Freeze, Kitsuo so far. So yeah, I'm just trying to coach and try to help as many players as I can. I'm also like running some drafts with some teams and just some individual coaches and managers.
Yeah.
I saw that you did draft for one of the Long Beach, and you mentioned two of their names as well. They're set against Radiance, and I thought that was pretty funny because I looked at the match history and I was like, wow, they picked Ornn and Soraka. I wonder if Wolverine had anything to do with that. And then I come to find out that you did. So, how has that been going with Long Beach? Like, was that the only time you've done draft for them, or are you sticking with it for a while?
I was in call, and I did that back when it was issues critical as well. I would just join call, and it wasn't like I was drafting, and I didn't really draft for LGBN. I would just give input and just kind of hang out. I mean, they have kind of crazy calls.
Yep.
In general.
Yeah.
I can imagine watching the champions that they pick.
We've seen a couple crazy calls and heard a couple. Obviously, I think the only team that actually plays Rammus Jungle and has found wins with it. But they are potentially a dark horse. And speaking of dark horses, as we kind of dive into the Cup playoffs and how that bracket's set up, what are your initial thoughts at like the bracket that we have here? Are there any dark horses that you have? Any teams like you think that we should look out for, or that like the public's missing out on?
I think the Cup bracket is actually really interesting because we're missing a lot of good teams, right? Like, I mean, I've obviously been like super critical of Supernova and Maryville and teams like Radiance and all those teams, but I mean, we also have like teams that like Dark Matter that like actually made it, who like weren't ever good enough to be like criticized, right?
Right.
So we have like a very top-heavy bracket, so it should be really interesting. I think if we're talking like specifically dark horses, I mean, we're probably only looking at LBGN or Frostfire. So I think their quarterfinals match is actually going to be really interesting.
True.
I think
Yeah.
they
One of
both
them's going
have the
semis,
same
so.
issue. Where, yeah, that's true. One of them will verse either 100 Thieves or Mirage. Yeah, I think they both have the same issue where they can be very good and they have very good drafts at times, but they're incredibly inconsistent and they're bad more times than they're good.
I believe that is our first matchup on stream tomorrow as well. So definitely watch out for that one. I'm really excited. Of course, the cup playoffs do begin tomorrow. Best of threes all around in quarters. Do you have a prediction for that series in particular?
Frostfire versus LBGN, I would say it probably goes 3-1 LBGN. But I think it will probably come down to draft, actually. I think both those teams have really interesting drafts in general.
Interesting is one word for it as far as Long Beach goes. I mean, Kitsua plays Kazakhs too, so I guess it is both of them.
Hey, Kazakhs got buffed, man. You never know.
He did. He did get buffed. That's a little bit extra Q damage. So, you know what that means if you're a Kazakhs player. I guess you pick him more. I don't know. I'm not a Kazakhs player.
Yeah. Another thing that like we've seen in terms of trends, no one has been able to touch 100 Thieves next so far. A new esports seems poised to be the team that is going to challenge them. But like, do you see any other teams in amateur that can like really hold a candle to these guys? And like, I know why, like, while you've been critical of good teams that we have in SGC in the past, like, why do you feel like these guys are head and shoulders above the rest of the competition?
I don't think anyone can realistically beat them. I think a lot of the criticism that I had for top teams, 100 Thieves has actually shored that up more than any other team. Like 100 Thieves is one of the few teams where their drafts are actually significantly improving, and their plays are getting a lot better. So while I think teams probably can take games off them, I think unless they're completely off their mark, they probably can't lose a series.
Yeah.
Are you only saying that because of the one-time Tenacity picked Orn?
He's been picking it more frequently.
One is more than zero. That is very true. But yeah, I definitely agree, and I think for 100 next, they have a really cool thing where they have a lot of consistency in their draft. So I think they've been able to really hone their craft in that way, where they have a very strong top side and usually their bot side plays weak. And we're seeing a lot of other teams try to move in that direction. Like Radiance has been doing things of that nature as well, like we mentioned with Avi before. But 100X have been on that train for a while. Do you think that other teams like should be moving toward topside? Because I think it's seeming really strong, but it might just be because Tenacity and Engo are really good. But I think we have a lot of good top laners as well. So, what do you feel about the top side, strong side meta that we're kind of seeing some more of?
I think it's currently a bit overrated. I don't think the like really strong top laners are actually very good. I mean, the Camille has seen a lot more play. I think it's pretty mediocre. Ornn has actually gotten worse through the meta.
Right.
So really, I think top lane is still just GP Kingdom. It should just be blind picked like every game, and nothing can really beat it.
Right.
It is pretty good.
It's really good, like too, because like it brings out the terrain to beat like a lot of the 80 carries we're seeing right now, like Varus, Ashe, Aphelios. Like GP is like an incredible pick into that. Also brings a global presence. I'm curious, like the number 2 team that we've seen is a new esports, right? With ImAviLoL falling off, they seem to be head and shoulders above everyone else as well. But you've been critical of a new in the past. What parts of their game do you think like they really have to shore up to try and challenge 100 Thieves next?
I think Anu has really awful drafts and really awful play. They're similar to ImAviLoL in that they thrive on being better players and being better as a team, but they just do it better than ImAviLoL. But yeah, they still have those same weaknesses. So if they want to actually beat 100 Thieves, they have to, start playing real League of Legends. They have to actually learn to draft, learn to actually play instead of just relying on their players.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, they do have 5 academy players. I've seen some more like I guess I don't want to discredit them as much like for their drafts or general strategy, but it like for me from the outside looking in, it seems like if they aren't able to play through Shoryu and Winter, that team can sometimes like fall off. Like they don't have a game plan to play through Rodolph. And when you go up against 100 Thieves next, you know the top lane is going to be attacked.
Yeah.
And while Rodolph can play weak side, it's really tough. Like they make it really difficult. So we're gonna have to see if they can possibly patch up their play, as they are playing them tonight in Upsurge, and also they're playing them in Big League for the finals on Friday. As we get down to like the rest of the SGC season, Wolverine, we're gonna eventually narrow things down to 8 teams, right?
Yep.
At first, you said that if Wildcard made it, they would be a team that could like potentially do some damage. Obviously, they came up short. They aren't going to have any SGC points. Is there another team that you're kind of eyeballing that you think if they make it into that top 8 with the rate of like what they're improving at and the players that they have, that can actually like do some damage?
Wildcard, yeah, they did have a really tough road to Scouting Ground Circuit since they didn't make LWL, and then
Yeah.
they also, I think, just got significantly worse rather than improving. I think their drafts got worse, and even their play got worse. At this point, I don't really think there is a realistic team. There are teams who could likely do it. Teams like LBGN and Radiance, even Frostfire to a lesser extent, like are on an upswing and they show promise, but not to the level where I think they can realistically actually be a top team or make a run to actually win Scouting Ground Circuit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Okay.
it's also 100 Next is looking better and better as the weeks go on as well.
Yeah.
So the upsets are looking slimmer and slimmer for sure.
I know that like the joke that's been thrown around, which I do not agree with, is SGC is like 100 Next and a bunch of like randoms, which I do not agree with that at all, but it does speak to how much better they are than the rest of the teams, and I think it's very clear seeing that based on like the gameplay that we have. But Wolverine, before we get into your prediction for the actual Cup playoffs and who wins and what the finals look like, there's been rumors floating around of a boxing match between you and another person that is in the industry. Good old Returned. Now I know that we are in COVID world, so we might have to have like some sort of Fight Island situation. Maybe it takes place on a Wii Sports or Wii Sports Resort. So I'm just kind of curious, like, have you put any practice into Wii Sports, or like, have you prepped at all for this? And if you had to go for a different game besides boxing, like, do you have a certain favorite, like, you'd want to kind of pull out against Return?
I have no Wii Sports experience, but honestly, I don't think it matters. I think any game with me, totally fine.
All right, Wolverine's going to challenge some of that Wii experience into Wii Sports. Predictions for Cup, like just kind of getting it, cut and dry. What do you think the finals matchup is, and what do you think the final game score is going to be?
I think finals will be 100 Thieves versus Anu. That's like 3 or 4 weeks away, so match score will be difficult. But I'm gonna say right now probably 3-1.
Yeah. Okay, so Anu gets to take a game. Wolverine, any other shout-outs you want to give? But before we have you leave, any thank yous, anything that you want to promote?
I would like to promote my Twitter at twitter.com/Wolverine.
Ooh.
Clean handle, no big deal. And that's it. That's all my promo.
All my promo. Wolverine, thanks so much for coming back on, kind of revisiting some of the things you said earlier in Cup. I think it was week 2. And also giving your predictions for playoffs, man. Appreciate you and all the coaching that you've been doing. Best of luck with that. And I'm sure we'll be talking to you later.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Okay.
We have
Nice.
one last guest with us on today's episode of Challengers Chatroom. And it is none other than our desk boy himself, Raafaa. How are you doing today, Raafaa?
I'm doing good. I'm chilling.
Oh, how the
I was actually on the
turntables.
PvE testing some things because there's
The
a lot
Lily
of
and Nexus Blitz?
no there's a lot of nutty buffs for other champions. But I don't want to get too further into it unless it's on the agenda for the schedule. I am the guest
Might be.
this time around, so you guide me around, guys.
How the turntables, Rafa. Now we are the Rafa and you are the lads.
The Raafaas and the lad. Is that what it is now?
The
Yes.
lad and the
The lads and the Rafa.
the lads and the rough.
Yes, absolutely. Jokes aside, Rafa, you casted a new versus Mirage last night. As a new, they had a very strong 3-0. I
did.
kind of realized that we didn't bring that up to Shoryu and Winter, but also I knew that we were going to touch on it with you. What were your thoughts, kind of, getting to cast that match? What was the play that you saw out of the teams, and kind of that?
Well, let's start with the good things
Mhm.
because there's a short number of it, so it'll be easier. um, Anu look really good. They have cleaned up a lot of their execution and their mid game. I can't really speak on about drafts for them because I know Wolverene has his takes, and I am just a humble commentator. I call it out as I see it, but I'm probably not as well practiced or versed as other people in the amateur scene. So, but Anu had more uh, realistic win conditions that were easier for them to execute, and they did it every single time. So, and their synergy, their play together is looking more crisp than it was earlier on in the season. So,
Oh yeah, for sure.
credits to Anu. The bad stuff. As someone, it was very hard for me to try and conceal my bias, but I know a couple people personally from Mirage, mainly Robbie Bob. So, as someone who is trying to commentate the game from a neutral perspective, I'm very content and very happy with Anu's progress overall in the season. But I was very sad to see Mirage get wiped out 0-3.
Yeah.
And especially when Robbie Bob on his last game is dying on Yasuo, which I have seen and played, like it's his champions are really cool to watch whenever he pulls out stuff like that, or the Zed. But there's something else that I can't tell you, or I wish I knew what was going on behind the scenes for Mirage that is hindering them, whether it's through a team fundamental that they can't overcome, their ability to draft as well. Like, as spicy as these picks are, there's certain things, like when in game 2 specifically, me and Josh on the cast were so perplexed by Renekton R2 when you don't know where the set is going to be. If it's a blind set B1, you don't know if that's top, if that's support, if that's jungle. You can't flex the Renekton around. That's why I was thinking, okay, maybe the Renekton can go to mid. Maybe Robbie Bob has that. Otherwise, it just seems stupid to throw that out there so early on in the draft. So I was really sad, and and if I seem really blunt and harsh to Mirage, my sincere apologies. It's because I expected so much more from you guys, and I still think that all 5 of these players have a future that they can work towards. But whether it's the team as a whole, or individuals that need to step up in terms of macro play, I don't have that answer.
Yeah, I mean, I got to cast them they got 2-0'd by Anu on the cast that I was on for Big, and it was the same story, right? They really struggled, or no, they got 3-0'd. It was a bummer. It's like to watch them struggle like that. It's Mirage is a team that, like, we're really hopeful for. Like, I've gotten to know Robbie Bob and Hyami. We had them on here as well. Like, I like those guys, and I hope they pick up their play because, like, they do have potential to be good, but unfortunately, kind of dropping the ball as of late.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially since they started looking still pretty solid after they subbed in Asilian, right? That was also really, really cool to see. Yeah, I'm taken aback, by the way. This is a slight tangent. Even even as the guest, you still have the bleeping power, and it still caught me off guard. I don't know. I can't believe
and he's
I
got the
can't believe we
power
remained
jacket,
that
man.
far.
He doesn't want to be the
Dude, I
guest.
know.
He's gonna start taking over this interview pretty
Or
soon.
just put him on the left. Just do it already. This is
No,
Mark's
no,
show.
this is your thing, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just coming here. I'm more relaxed. I don't have a lot of the responsibility on me. So if I start going off the rails, Max, it's up to you to reel me back in. So
Oh,
Uh-oh.
might be up to Cubby.
Yeah, we'll have to see.
Mm.
Ralph, I think something that a lot of people, don't know about you, especially like ones who haven't been around quite as long, you were actually a team owner at one point, and that is
Oh,
why
God.
that's why you have some of these relationships with
Mm.
players. Would you like to potentially give us some background on Rex Regalis and
Oh
kind of
man,
like the players that
yeah.
you know
You
from
know
that
it.
roster?
Yeah, it's funny, because Avi was the first guest, and he was one of the players on that roster.
Yes,
I
he
mean,
was.
to be honest, Rex Regalis was really just UCI varsity. So
Mhm.
back in 2019, last year, they were looking for a team to say, hey, you know what? We're looking for a team to sponsor us in the org. We'll play for anyone, as long as you have something to offer us. And so I made an offer to them. I told them that I genuinely believed in that roster, every single one of those, and I still do to
Mhm.
this day. And I'm really, honestly, I think the most heartbreaking thing was during the off season after Rex Regalis, watching so many teams looking for junglers, and I was like, man, Avi should get on that roster. Avi would be so good for this roster,
Mhm.
and he didn't. And he was teamless for quite some time. So I'm really happy to that he got Avi on that Radiance roster. And I was once again going through these roller coaster of emotions, watching Radiance struggle on the way
Yeah.
starting out in their season. And now, they're tightening things up, very much similar to Anu, that the execution is getting a lot better. You're seeing these players who should normally be the carry or the playmakers for the team not doing so well. Finally, Obvious seems to finally has found his form within the team, at least from the outside in. We have
Mhm.
no idea what's going on behind the scenes all the time as well. So, the players could have a completely different perspective on what's going on. I think it was really nice to have Shoryu and Winter on, because they're talking about, I mean, yeah, we were losing a lot of games, but we were actually fine with what we were doing, right? You
Mhm.
just cannot get carried away by the fact of, you know, letting the results speak for everything when the process is working. And time is a huge necessity when it comes to seeing results in the long run rather than the short run.
Yeah. That's true. And, speaking of the long run, like, not only did you have that team of your own, but the tournament you had actually had quite a few players in it that, like, you built some rapport with and are now competing
Mhm.
in SGC tournaments today. Like, do you want to kind of talk about, like, who you've gotten to know through that and, like, kind of like the relationship
Yeah.
that you've built?
Yeah, so okay, so for those that don't know,
Mhm.
so Rex Regalis was made after I did a tournament called Rex Rivals, which was I ran that with a really close friend of mine, Sabu. He's not really known in the amateur scene, but he's known by a lot of the players because he's just someone that quietly works behind the scenes for a lot of things, but he is by far one of the best tournament organizers ever, because he
Mhm.
just works his ass off, and he is very diligent, and he's very humble, and he's very loyal to
Yeah.
those that he works for. So, shout outs to Sabu, because that man has a heart of gold, and deserves a lot more, but he just, he doesn't push for his own individual brand, and he's actually helped me a lot in my individual casting career as well. So,
Mhm.
shout outs to him as well. But he helped me run the tournament Rex Rivals. It was a 2-day tournament, and our format that we were trying to go for was to focus on bringing together individual players, not necessarily teams, because we
Mhm.
wanted to put a shining light on people who were really only well known in solo queue
Mhm.
and not necessarily a big team player. So, we would try to mix up some big team players and get them in, but then we also wanted to throw in players who were not signed by teams and hopefully get, the players that were on big teams to notice it and say, "Hey, oh yeah, it was really fun and it was really good working with this player. This guy has really great comms. He has a really awesome champion pool. He's got a great attitude or a great teamwork ethic. And so a few of the standout players who didn't really have teams settled at the time, I remember Always Plan Ahead. He was still 16 at the time going into that, and he was, he was just a beast, man. And every time he got a soul, I was like, I feel so bad for the enemy team because they just didn't know. Kind
True.
Jungle was
That's
on
still
there.
true.
I know Kind Jungle had been around on other rosters like Azio Esports, but it was awesome having Kind in there. And I know he technically he's at Maryville University. I don't know if he's a designated sub or if he's a sub for another team. He was great. Rhubarbs and Robbie Bob were also in that tournament. Kitsuo
Yeah.
was also in that tournament. There's a couple other names, and I'm trying to think. There was one 80 carry player. Unfortunately, it wasn't a Cillian, but I don't know. That I just know that through that tournament, I know talking to Robbie Bob felt that he made a lot of connections that he would not have made otherwise, and so it was nice. And I do have to say about Always Plan Ahead, there was a moment where he didn't get a chance to play in the tournament, and and I was put in positions like, yo, I don't like, everyone gets toxic sometimes, but like, I asked him, like, hey, like, I don't know if I can have you, but he was very earnest and honest with me. He's like, hey, you know what? I messed up. I'm sorry, but please, like, this tournament is very important. And so, I said, okay, just don't do it again. And I'm glad that he convinced me otherwise because, I would have felt really bad if I had stunted his career in any way. So,
Yeah.
I think everyone deserves a second chance. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that's and it was fun. It was a lot of fun being able to see all the players just being combined in different teams as well.
Yeah. Well, I know, like, I want to bring you on here, give Raafaa a chance to show off his big brain and experience, and also talk about the Cup playoff predictions, because I know that we know our first round predictions already. We might have already drafted, some players, who knows. But I'm kind of curious, what kind of matchups are you looking out for, Raafaa? Who do you think is going to be a dark horse? Who do you think is people are really underrating?
Well, so I know Frostfire came in second seed, and so it might not seem like they're a quote unquote dark horse, but I think a lot of people have this team underrated. I think they have some very creative drafts and innovative drafts. Wolverine might not agree with me on that one and think it's bad, but I think actually when it
You might think it's bad, but he did say it was interesting. So
yeah.
that's something.
Yeah, because I think what happens is when you're going up against teams like 100 Thieves, you cannot just play standard into them because they have a lot of experience playing against teams that just play standard. And then they just are better at that. So if you want to beat 100 Thieves, you have to pull things against them that they're not going to expect and that they've not practiced against, because a lot of the players on 100 Thieves, while they're very good, they also are very confident in themselves. And confidence can sometimes lead to cockiness. And it's understandable. It's not a knock on them. It's something that they will learn with time. It's not something that you can just clean up in 2 months, 3 months. Although they've progressed a lot considerably in those 3 months, thanks to 100 Thieves as an org and with their infrastructure and their support, they still have a lot to go, and that just comes naturally with time and age. So if you look at Crossfire and the type of stuff that they pull, and if you can pull the wool over some of these members' eyes and just completely baffle them, and like pulling a champion like if you look at Quas, I mean, he plays stuff like Alawi and Swain. And I don't know how many times Tenacity has run into that matchup before. I mean, now if Tenacity is like even slightly concerned about that, he might go and spam some matchups into Alawi. He's like, okay, what do I do against this, right? But I mean, he probably won't. He probably will just be confident that, yeah, I don't care about that. I'll play into it. But that is, of course, assuming that Frostfire will run the entire gauntlet on the lower bracket, which means not only beating LBGN, but also potentially, and more than likely Anu. I'm pretty confident that Anu will win their top 8 round, but I think Frostfire have what it takes to run the entire gauntlet. And I've told this to Returned. If there is a team that will beat 100 Thieves, it will be Frostfire.
Ooh, okay. So Raafaa has a dark horse, an actual set one too, which I think no one else has had. If anyone is gonna like make a run or mix things up, I think it's gonna be them or actually LBGN. And I think that like for me, that's the most interesting quarterfinal matchup. That one and 100 Thieves next versus Mirage, because Mirage has been slumping, but they've taken games off 100 next in the past. So we'll have to see what can happen in the best of 3. I think Frostfire versus LBGN is going to be a banger of a game. That's going to be a crazy set, and I wish that more people were talking about it, but neither team really has a social media presence minus their players, and so I feel like both orgs kind of like get under, like, not focused on. I'm looking forward to that one a lot.
Well, Cubby, I have good news for you. We are going to be talking about that tomorrow evening on this very stream.
Me and Raafaa are going to switch positions too.
Yeah, true. I'm staying in the middle, which is great. That's my constant spot, I guess. But yes, we're going to be talking about that one on the stream tomorrow. But before we round out this stream, Mark, I do have to bring something up to you. I'm sure you've seen this. One of our beloved members of the amateur community, Prussian, has released a caster tier list, and you and I are shared in our position up in the swag tier. Now, the reason I bring this up is because I'm pretty sure he made this entirely to mess with Cubby, because Cubby is one of the people in the Wile E. Coyote tier, which is hilarious.
What's more interesting to me is that Cubby specifically requested if there's any tier list or any tier that has Toontown in it, I have to be in it, because Cubby's the only person that I know that has played Toontown on stream in like in forever. I don't think I've seen any other.
There's a lot of us. There's a lot of us.
The Toontown community in amateur league.
On stream, maybe not, but
okay.
It was
like I didn't even know it existed, to be honest. I thought Toontown died a long time ago when I was.
Oh, it did, but someone remade it.
It's back.
Oh my
Toontown
God.
Toontown Rewind. Or rewrite.
Yeah, but Cubby's not even in it because it's called the Crackhead tier. So
yeah, I have to say though, like Prussian, the Wile E. Coyote tier list, like, because if anyone read my tier list that I made, that was the tier list I wrote for teams that went boom. Shout out to CLT Phoenix and Slaughterhouse. Yeah. So he got me good there. He got me good. He even had the same like thing, like sometimes plans backfire, and I've got like 2 screenshots of like I tweeted out like the Lizzie McGuire like record scratch, like, hey, I'm Cubby. I bet you're wondering how I got here, with a screenshot of both. So
that's so good.
Yeah, thanks for a good laugh, Prussian. And yeah, I'm glad that it's now confirmed that you guys are now better than me in both fantasy picks and in casting tier lists. So I'm gonna go hide. Just go hide.
I will say this. Yeah, I think that tier list, you know, I don't know how serious it is supposed to be. I appreciate the compliment that Prussian put me in swag, because
and look at the jacket, man. You got it right now.
Yeah, but like I just consider this as like standard. I don't know. I mean, just based on those that have taught me. So, but I think one person that I'm really intrigued about, and I'm now very curious to listen to a cast, is Zephyr. Because he put him in the S+ tier, and so like, you know, whether like whatever the tiers are or whatever, the fact that he's grouping them with TJ, Niberia, Mad Magical, Esports Doug, like that's a very, very high praise. Yeah. So, and you know, it can't just be like, oh yeah, you know, because from my understanding, you know, Zephyr's fairly new to the scene. Young, I've had many interactions with him. I've been very.
He's got
pleased.
A nice voice, very deep.
He does have a dude. It's the baritone voice.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just because Zephyr has been talking to people in the community and talked to Prussian. Which, if that is the case, Prussian, I told Zephyr to
Nepotism.
talk
No,
to you.
No,
I should be like higher up. This is the real debate.
I sincerely think that if he placed it, whether like how I don't care how much of a like a meme this is.
Yeah.
I think it's always nice to have insight of what people think of you from outside of a caster's perspective.
Yes.
Because I think between the caster circle, there's always been like jokes of like people making a tier list, like, oh,
Mhm.
as a play-by-play, who do you think are the best colors, or as a color, who do you think are the best play-by-plays? But
Mhm.
always like having an insight from someone that's outside of what it from a caster's perspective, just like from a whether it's like an analyst or a coach or even a player, it's always interesting because they look for different things than we do, right? So
Right.
but it's still important because what we're doing is we are delivering a product in entertainment. We are trying to bring something that is consumable by the audience, Twitch chat, uh, most of the time, and hopefully, the best that we can hope for is that we don't get muted. Unfortunately, if you're Myra, that we're just always on mute except if we're returned. So, but
Yeah.
That's why we do more crab raves on mute.
True.
What is
True.
going on?
Then they have to unmute. They're like, what are these guys doing?
What is going
See?
on?
That's why it's not just an auditory element. There's a visual element as well. which
Yeah.
is-
True. But yeah, big shout out to Prussian. Great laugh on the tier list. He also makes really, really good content too on his YouTube channel. He's one of the only people who I see making specific videos for Academy. And
Yes.
that has definitely piqued my interest. I've been
I know that
watching
all the
Academy
Academy
more
Rush
because of him.
Yeah, all the Academy Rush casters like actually watch those videos, and
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
I've been sending them to like the few connections like I have like for those casters, and also like for even like coaches like within like pro teams to like check them out
Yeah.
because
Mhm.
they're
Yeah.
really good. So
So yeah,
subscribe to him.
if you're listening right now and you want to get interested in Academy, definitely give his videos a watch for sure. They are really,
Yeah.
really good. But if you also want to hear some casting that he thinks is S+ tier, be sure to tune into UPL in about an hour and a half.
Ah, very true.
Yeah, I like that transition, huh? That is going to be a really, really good matchup on the main channel. Like we mentioned it a couple of times, 100 Next versus Anu. You are not going to want to miss that one. But we gotta give Raafaa here the same courtesy that we've given everyone else. Do you have any shout outs before we close out the Challengers chat room, Mark?
Raw family, all the way, baby. No, but Challengers Uprising, in general, all the staff have been, very wonderful to work with. Making the content with them has been such a genuine pleasure of mine. I don't think any other league has ever pushed me to do content before, and now that I have a genuine love for just creating things, it gives me something to do and look forward to. I also want to shout out basically, I mean, there's a lot of people that I've met and interacted with along my caster journey. Hyper actually gets a huge shout out for this one because he's the one that discovered me and brought me into the amateur scene. Made all the connections before, but every single color caster I've worked with, even play-by-play casters when I like did color for a time being, have always been a pleasure to work with as well. So just there's I don't know. There will be a twit longer coming later where I want to actually like thank everyone in detail about what they've done for me specifically. But yeah, thank you guys for having me on the podcast. This was
course.
a genuine surprise.
It was a blast.
Now we
Yeah.
have video evidence that you owe us a twit longer too, so that's great.
Oh,
Oh,
more content for Raafaa. Let's go.
no.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a long time coming. I've been wanting to have you on for a while. So I'm glad we got the opportunity to have you on here, Mark. If you want to hear the three of us babble on about some more League of Legends related stuff, be sure to tune in to the stream tomorrow. Challengers Uprising at Twitch. You are already here if you're listening on Twitch, so just come back tomorrow. It's going to be a great time. We got a couple of quarterfinals matches, Frostfire versus Long Beach Nation, and then we also have, I believe, the 100 Next Mirages tomorrow too, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken.
7 p.m. Eastern for the
yeah.
pre-show. We've got a lot of fun
Yes.
stuff planned.
Oh, a lot of fun stuff. It's
I'm
going to be
excited.
an absolute blast tomorrow.
Yep.
You're not going to want to miss it. But for now, it's going to do it from us on the Challengers Chat Room. Thanks for listening in. We'll see y'all next week. Bye.